Star Trek V failed because it took the wrong lessons from The Voyage Home. When Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home hit theaters in 1986, it was a cultural phenomenon. Instead of another dark, battle-heavy space adventure, the film leaned into humor, environmental themes, and fish-out-of-water storytelling as the Enterprise crew tried to save the whales and the planet by time traveling to 1980s San Francisco. Audiences loved it. Critics praised it. The box office soared. Paramount executives saw only one thing: lighter, funnier Star Trek sales. Unfortunately, when it came time for the next entry, 1989 Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, that lesson was applied without understanding why The Voyage Home worked in the first place. The result was a movie that tried to be funny, tried to be profound, and ended up satisfying neither. The magic of The Voyage Home. Part of why The Voyage Home succeeded is that it embraced the inherent absurdity of its premise. Spock asking about colorful metaphors, Scotty talking to a computer mouse, and Chekhov asking about nuclear vessels weren't just jokes. They were organic to the characters being displaced in a strange world. The humor didn't undermine their intelligence or dignity. It came from watching highly competent professionals deal with bizarre 20th century culture. But beyond laughs, The Voyage Home had heart. Its environmental message about saving endangered species resonated during the 1980s ecological awakening, and its story gave every main crew member something meaningful to do. Even while the tone was lighter, the stakes, Earth's destruction, were deeply serious. The balance between comedy, character, and gravitas was carefully struck. Enter The Final Frontier. William Shatner, directing his only Star Trek film, wanted The Final Frontier to be grand and mythic. The central story had ambition. A renegade Vulcan named Sivik hijacks the Enterprise to seek God at the center of the galaxy. On paper, it sounds like an epic philosophical exploration, right in line with Trek's tradition of asking big questions. But where The Voyage Home grounded its humor in situation and character, The Final Frontier leaned into slapstick gags and out-of-place comedy routines that clashed with its supposedly profound story. Instead of nuanced fish-out-of-water comedy, we got Scotty knocking himself unconscious on a bulkhead, Uhura doing a desert fan dance, and Kirk, Spock, and McCoy singing "Row, row, row your boat" around a campfire. These moments weren't organic to the plot. They were shoehorned in because Paramount thought audiences wanted more laughs after The Voyage Home. Misreading the audience. What executives and even Shatner missed was that audiences hadn't loved The Voyage Home because it was funny. They loved it because it was authentically funny without sacrificing story or characters. The humor in The Final Frontier felt forced and disconnected. Viewers didn't want Starfleet officers acting like buffoons. They wanted to see them as real people put in unusual situations. Compounding the problem, the movie's budget was slashed during production, leaving its God at the Galaxy's Edge finale looking more like a low-rent TV episode than a theatrical spectacle. Instead of philosophical awe, audiences got rock monsters that never made it past test footage and a glowing face in the sky that felt underwhelming. The Kirk, Spock, McCoy core worked, but wasn't enough. To its credit, The Final Frontier did highlight the bond between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Their campfire scenes, though divisive, underscored the trio's lifelong friendship. Shatner clearly wanted to emphasize their humanity, but the tonal inconsistency made these emotional beats feel out of sync with the rest of the film. Contrast this with The Voyage Home, where every crew member had meaningful contributions. In The Final Frontier, Sulu, Chekhov, Uhura, and Scotty mostly ended up as comedic relief or background players, making the ensemble weaker than before. The film doubled down on laughs when what it really needed was depth for all characters. Trek's big questions derailed. At its heart, Star Trek is about seeking meaning, exploring frontiers, and confronting philosophical dilemmas. Shatner's idea, "What if someone actually found God?" was ambitious, but it never paid off. Instead of challenging theological ideas with nuance, the movie concluded with Kirk shrugging and declaring, "What does God need with a starship?" before blowing up the supposed deity. What could have been a profound story about faith, doubt, and the search for purpose instead collapsed into a rushed action climax. The tonal whiplash between slapstick comedy and divine confrontation made the film feel muddled. Audiences didn't reject The Final Frontier because it was lighthearted. They rejected it because it failed to respect either its comedy or its philosophy. Learning the wrong lessons.